My next Patreon question is from Micah, who wanted to know my picks for the best shows to come out of a popular animation channel. What classic Cartoon Network program do you find to be the most fun and entertaining? Before I reveal my answers, I guess it's important to talk about what can be considered classic in this case. Cartoon Network has been producing series long enough that there are now generations with their own programs they consider to be classic. There are young people who grew up in the mid-2000s and likely view The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack and Ben 10 as classics, and that's great. Due to my age, the era of Cartoon Network I consider to be classic is the 90s, and so I'm only counting shows that started airing in that decade. Sorry, sheep in the big city. My top pick for favorite classic Cartoon Network show would have to be Dexter's Laboratory. Genndy Tartakovsky and his team came up with all sorts of hilarious scenarios for Dexter to take part in, and the many inventions he built certainly showed a lot of creativity. His interactions with Dee Dee definitely proved among the highlights, as we see the ways in which she greatly annoyed him. Tartakovsky also made great use of the limited animation style of the show, and the old-school sound effects added greatly to the humor. The Doll M for Monkey and Just As Friends segments also had their fair share of laughs. And I cannot talk about Dexter's Lab without bringing up Christine Cavanaugh's brilliant voice work as the titular young scientist. She brought a unique sound to Dexter, and I think that played a key role in the show's success. Dexter's Lab so impressed me as a child that Genndy Tartakovsky was one of the first animation talents whose name I knew at an early age. Considering the others were Walt Disney and Chuck Jones, that's saying a lot. Another Cartoon Network series from that era I rank highly is the Powerpuff Girls. Now, unlike Dexter's Laboratory, I did not really watch the show when I was younger, although I was certainly aware of it. I just sort of wrote it off as just some girly show, what with its heavy use of the color pink, and characters named Blossom and Bubbles. Several years later, I gave the Powerpuff Girls a proper look, and you know what? It's a fantastic show. The city of Townsville and the personalities of the Powerpuff Girls was so brilliantly realized by Craig McCracken. It's such a clever play on the superhero genre, and the Powerpuff Girls make for entertaining and likable heroines. McCracken and the writers also gave them a memorable rogues gallery to deal with. Mojo Jojo was of course their biggest archenemy, with his many attempts to take over the city. There was also him who, as much as the censors did not want anyone to admit it, was obviously supposed to be the devil. And the Amoeba Boys, who, let's just say, have recently become much scarier villains than I think even McCracken intended. The action also was not afraid of getting violent when the Powerpuff Girls went into fighting mode. Throw in a clever and self-aware narration from Tom Kenny, and this show definitely earned its place in animation history. Finally, the third show I will mention is Courage the Cowardly Dog. This might be one of the most surreal shows produced by Cartoon Network, with John R. Dilworth and his team managing to create a new monster in each episode for Courage to cower from. This was a series with a lot of unforgettable imagery, and quite a bit of nightmare fuel. Some memorable episodes include the one with the Cajun Fox, the one with Freaky Fred, and the one with the demonic mattress. Courage made for an entertaining lead character, especially with how far the animators went in depicting his fears and somehow an ability to shapeshift. From a design standpoint, Courage the Cowardly Dog was also very well done. It was a bold show for Cartoon Network to give the go-ahead to at the time, but that just made it stand out all the more. Now I want to know what era of Cartoon Network you consider to be classic, and what shows from that period are your favorites. Thank you for your question, Micah.